I'm focused on his spirit cause it keeps me from his fire. The Holy Ghost is with me, so my fear I leave behind. My sins were all diminished when he took that breath and died. And if you think I'ma give up on my God, the devil is a lie. The devil is a lie. The devil is a lie.
Hello. Welcome to Black Tea News. I'm your host, Christina Barnes. Today, we're going to be talking about the results of the New York mayor race, and it's not good if you don't like, communism. I hope, I hope Eric Adams can pull it out during the general election. He's running as an independent. It's amazing with all the people who live in New York, what it came down to and the outcome. And we got to talk about what that means for the Democrat Party going forward and what that could mean for the country going forward. Also, Anthony Karmelo has been indicted on first-degree murder charges. So I'm not surprised about that at all. But that trial will continue to move forward. And we'll also be talking about Candace Owens taking out $10,000 bounties to try to find out who's paying people to talk bad about her, if that's even true at all. But before we jump into everything, I want to encourage you guys to go to blacktunes.com, check out different content on my website, articles, videos, etc. If you like what I do, please consider leaving a donation on the site, because it does cost a stream, run my site, all the good stuff you guys can support. I very much do appreciate you guys. You guys can also check out different merch that's available on my site. I got t-shirts and hoodies and mugs and all kinds of different stuff. And you guys can also check out my different books that I've written. I have 15 that are all together. I have some children's books and some YA, and I have nonfiction books, and they're all available on Amazon. There's a link in the description that'll take you to a page that has my stuff on there. And you can get everything on paperback or ebook. And most of my books, well, I think all of them that are fiction, are available on Kindle Unlimited if you have that. So I encourage you guys to check that out. So so thank you, Jesus, for justice on that Karmelo case. He's indicted. They still have to go through the actual trial and get the conviction and so on. But if there's any justice in this world, he's going to be found guilty on first-degree murder. And we'll save it for that segment, but we'll save it for that segment. But it's just interesting, people fighting to make that case, that story, things that it's not, but lots of interesting things to talk about today. I do apologize for not being on yesterday, but I had like a sinus headache, and it was so very hot, and I had other things to do as well. So I just was like, okay, I'm just gonna take the day. We'll resume with the news tomorrow, and tomorrow has now come. And I'm like, well, tomorrow will be interesting because we'll have the results of this mayor race in New York. So Zoran Mamdani has won. And just let's remind ourselves a bit of some of the things that he supported. He's got some treasure trove of stuff on his X account, formerly Twitter. But he's as bad as it can get. Like, he's a Bernie bro, and he's a 33-year-old man who doesn't have the experience to run the New York, which is an enormous city. New York is so enormous and has so much going on, so many people who live there, so many people of tremendous wealth, that you could be the mayor of New York and then make the case that you could run for the presidency. I mean, or people have made that case and have bought it a little bit, at least. So it's it's just incredible. He couldn't even vote a couple years ago. Like it, and he wanted to vote for Bernie Sanders. It's just tremendous that they're going to let this happen. And I know I've seen some people from the UK um poking fun at us because we poke fun at them and their situation in London. I don't live in New York. I certainly wouldn't have voted for him, and I certainly wouldn't go live in New York. No way. Not unless the Lord was sending me basically on the mission field. If the Lord told me to go, then I would go. But man, that would take some prayer. I would need to know. I'm like, I gotta lay out the fleece again, Jesus. But just something he posted in the past. We will support existing legislation that will end cash bail, repeal the walking while trans ban, decriminalize sex work, legalize marijuana, permit safe injection sites, restrict solitary confinement, enact elder parole, re-enfranchise incarcerated New Yorkers. We will also introduce legislation to decriminalize simple drug possession, repeal all mandatory minimum sentences, reduce maximum sentences with retroactive effect, repeal felony bump up statuses, repeal sentencing enhancements in cooperation with ICE. So those are just some of the things that he supports. He's been, defund the police. Here's a doozy. We don't need an investigation to know that the NYPD is racist, anti-queer, and a major threat to public safety. What we need to do is defund the New York PD. But your deal with New York mayor uses budget tricks to keep as many cops as possible on the beat. No fake cuts. Defund the police. Defund the police. That's the kind of guy that they want to run New York. And he won. The biggest threat, or the person who they thought was a front runner, was Andrew Cuomo, who was the former governor who was disgraced and pushed out because of alleged bad sexual behavior, inappropriate behavior. And the behaviors that were alleged weren't good, obviously, but it is kind of crazy to me, but that's the thing that pushed him out, and not all his behavior during COVID, including directives about the nursing homes and mixing the COVID patients with the nursing homes. And that was a story that Democrats in the media, I guess, really, really tried not to cover, and eventually it got covered. And there was a document about the directive. So there was a lot of people who did die unnecessarily during COVID due to his failure. I don't even think failure is a good word. It's so stupid. I mean, it's hard. Why would we knew they were the most vulnerable. So to me, it just never made sense. But there were like 5 Democrats that decided to commingle them. My governor, Gretchen Whitmer, she's one of those governors who did that. It was also Pennsylvania at the time. This is prior to Shapiro, so the governor before Shapiro. It was Newsom in California. It was I think New Jersey, maybe. And there's another state. I can't think of the other one. But I know my governor did it, and I know Cuomo certainly did it. So he got some flack for that. But what took him down was that scandal. Now, I had hypothesized that maybe they allowed that to take him down because they didn't want to draw more unnecessary attention to him and the Democrats because of that particular scandal with the nursing homes and so on. So the fact that he wanted to get back in the limelight and run again and reclaim power by becoming the mayor of New York, it's pretty crazy. And maybe he ran or was thinking himself, I'm going to do this noble thing and save the city from these maniacs. And it is crazy that he was still like the most normal choice, but he was still a bad choice. And apparently, he didn't go to different forums that other candidates went to and didn't take it as seriously as he should have. Now, I don't think that's the only reason why he didn't win. Zoran, he, really, really excited liberal, white, college educated folks. And they went out there in droves for him. So that's where the excitement really is right now in the Democrat Party. And I don't like it. I don't like it because I would very much like them to be normal. I don't want to be super concerned that someone super crazy rises up in power and gets the nomination and hope, like, I'm not one of those people like, aha, they picked the worst person possible, therefore we're gonna just have it in the bag. I'm not one of those people. I would rather we put up our best and and if we lose, I won't like it, and I won't like some of the things that they pass about, I don't know, taxes, and hopefully it's not too big of a jump what they pass, and they do their green energy stuff, and maybe some things I roll my eyes, and some more regulations here or there, but hopefully it doesn't change the course of the nation too much, and they will still work with Republicans and pass the bipartisan legislation, and I don't have to lose any sleep or whatever over it. I don't want everything to be so on the line, like, oh my gosh, the country's really going to fail if this psychopath ends up being the president. And so, people are concerned that if this is the path that New York is taking, which New York City is very liberal, obviously, and if that's the path that they take, and other folks are following suit, and they kind of follow this wave of I don't know, activism, and they keep cannibalizing other Democrats who were moderate or have been there for a while and who know better. And these really passionate people keep taking over. Can you get someone like AOC, who's the nominee for 2028 for the Democrats? Don't laugh at it. But just so many people that are bad. Like AOC is bad, but Tim Walz was the VP nominee. Tim Walz is nuts. Kamala Harris was the most left-wing senator, even more left-wing than Bernie Sanders. And as a matter of fact, people were using that on the campaign trail, that rating, so they tried to like readjust it so folks wouldn't refer to it anymore. So Democrats have really tried to push out the worst of the worst on their side. And just because we won this time doesn't mean that we're that we're gonna win the next time. So I would rather them put up someone normal, and we put up our best, and just debate for the best vision, But the fact that this is a route that the Democrats are going, it's concerning. He wants city-owned grocery stores too. Yeah, I'm aware of that. That was like one of the first things that I had heard about him, because he doesn't think, or I guess he thinks the profit structures are damaging or whatever. But I mean, what about, like, I don't know, family-owned, non like large corporate stores where people go in and get their stuff? Like, are you trying to run them out of business? Are you trying to compete with them and take their customers? And it's not just Whole Foods who'd be missing out on money. Not that I think that you'll run it competently. But here's a little bit of you know, him.
We have won because New Yorkers have stood up for a city they can afford. A city where they can do more than just struggle. And it's where the mayor will use their power to reject Donald Trump's fascism, to stop mass ICE agents from deporting our neighbors, and to govern our city as a model for the Democratic Party. We have won because New Yorkers...
Yeah, to be a model for the Democratic Party. An AOC went out and campaigned with him. Yeah. There was an interesting segment on CNN, and one of the guests had to break it down on how he could devolve New York City into the hellscape that it was like in the 80s. And well, I'll play the clip and then I'll explain a couple things if you don't know how bad it was.
There's no one happier after Mamdani and his family than Eric Adams tonight, because everyone over 50 years old who remembers Times Square in the 1970s and the 1980s when you couldn't walk through, it was all pornography and crack and muggings and rapes and robberies. Everyone who remembers that is going to vote for Eric Adams. The New York Times, who didn't do an endorsement, did say, please don't vote for Mamdani, as did the Daily News, as did the New York Post. So anybody who knows how bad New York can get all came out against Mamdani, because a 33-year-old with zero experience running anything except a little office with 5 employees should not be running the city of New York.
Donald Trump is president of the United States. His experience was being on The Apprentice. He's head of the Pentagon. His experience being a weekend on...
So before I let him school her on it, because he's going to explain some of the reason why he said what he said. This was at Joyless. It's so dishonest to be like, Donald Trump, he wasn't qualified. He was on The Apprentice. That's his qualification out of life. Why do you think so many people went on The Apprentice? Why do you think he could have that successful show? It's because he had a successful real estate business. It's because he marketed himself. He branded himself quite successfully, and not just in business, but also, put it over into politics and did a pretty darn good job, obviously. So what's the point of trying to degrade him down to just being a television host when everybody knows that he's a businessman? Why? It just makes you look stupid, not just dishonest, but really stupid. People can lie all the time and tell better lies than joy. The hate that they have for this man, it's just so irrational. It's just so irrational. So I just had to stop and point that out, but we'll keep watching.
A weekend anchor on Fox. Are you kidding me? He's got Dr. Oz is in his administration. Dr. Oz,
you're leaving out something. He's a 33-year-old socialist who's never run a popsicle stand.
He's literally in city government right now. Sorry, after Donald Trump. I'm sorry, after Donald Trump and his Pinky and the Brain administration, no one ever gets to talk about qualifications.
Socialism will not save
the bottom line is what I want to ask you a question.
Wait, hold on. I'm sorry. I'm just messed up the spot. But to say that we can never have a conversation about qualifications ever again because you don't like some of the people in the Trump administration, never. We can never have a conversation about why people need to be qualified and what are their qualifications. There's some people in the Trump administration that I didn't want to be appointed to those positions, to be frank. But he, himself was the former president. So there you go. He's done it. But again, he was a businessman. But Joe Biden had some people in there who had qualifications, but they weren't qualifications that were right for the jobs they had. Like the assistant health secretary. I mean, not the assistant, the actual health secretary. What was his expertise? Suing nuns? So they have all the things to say when they want to come after Trump and his team. But just because you don't find his people to have good qualifications doesn't mean you throw everything out the window. If you want to call your opponents hypocrites or whatever, that's one thing if they're actually being hypocritical. But there's a significant amount of experience that's different with Donald Trump versus Zoran here.
I want to ask you a question. What is your evidence that Mamdani would return New York City to the 1970s hellhole Times Square? What is your evidence?
It's very simple. So he wants to raise taxes on people who make the most money. What eventually is going to happen is you're going to lose that tax base. Once you lose that tax base, our bonds will get degraded. Now the city budget will not be substantial enough to subsidize not only the cops, but the fire department, the sanitation department. Once you start losing Wall Street and people who pay $11,000, $12,000 a month to live on the Upper East Side, you're done. Let me ask you. And you go back to the 70s when Gerald Ford said to New York, drop dead.
Okay, but hold on, Arthur.
Okay, so he didn't even go through like all the desire to defund the police and replace them with social workers and stuff. So I mean, if you get rid of cops, you're going to make the city just more dangerous, and people aren't going to be able to protect their property. People aren't going to be able to protect their businesses, and they will get up and they will go. They will get up and they will go. But what are they going to do if a lot of these people who have different businesses are like, well, I'm paying crazy taxes anyway, and now they want to raise them, and plus the city's not safe, and these folks celebrate when CEOs are shot in cold blood. Like, I might as well go. It's not safe for me and my family. And if you do leave, like, please leave your values with you. I mean, please, understand why you're fleeing to a red state. Don't try to make it blue. Did you guys notice how she was looking as he explained things? I don't know if it was the camera that she's looking into. I don't know if it's the eyelashes, I assume are fake, that she's wearing. I'm not downing fake eyelashes, I'm just noting that she's probably wearing them. She looks like possessed. Like, not right here.
You're going to lose that tax base. Once you lose that tax base, our bonds will get degraded. Now the city budget will not be substantial enough to subsidize not only cops, but the fire department, the sanitation department. Once you start losing Wall Street and people who pay $11,000.
Okay, now it stopped. But I don't know. I don't know what it was with her face or expression. Oh gosh, I don't think I showed you guys what I was looking at. Hold on. Sorry.
Qualifications.
Socialism will
70s hellhole Times Square. What is your evidence?
It's very simple. So he wants to raise taxes on people who make the most money. What eventually is going to happen is you're going to lose that tax base. Once you lose that tax base, our bonds will get degraded. Now the city budget will not be substantial enough to subsidize.
Yeah, that's just a weird face, man. Department. The faces that she was making. I wonder how conscious I'll be like during TV stuff. Like, how does my face look? Because sometimes I'm talking to people and I'm like, I wonder how I look looking back at them, especially if they say something crazy. one time, this has nothing to do with politics, but one time I was at a Comic-Con convention. I was at C2E2 in Chicago, I believe. And so I was at my booth and someone came up to me, and I don't know how we got in the conversation. I think it spawned off, like they asked some questions about my books or whatever, and then they started talking about different stuff and they just sounded really off. And then she went off into like God having a wife and it being Lilith, and went into this weird lore. And in my mind, I'm just thinking, oh, she's crazy. And I'm just like listening and talking and, getting through the conversation. And I'm wondering in my head, I'm like, how am I reacting to her like on the outside? And then I asked my sister Tina, I'm like, how's my face? And she's like, it was like stone cold. Like, oh, so I got good face, I guess, when I'm talking to people. So I guess that's a skill. So hopefully I'm not doing evil joy eyes when someone is telling me the truth. But maybe she needs an exorcism. I don't know. Maybe. Abel said, escape from New York timeline incoming. There's still hope. I mean, if Andrew Cuomo, there's talk of him running as an independent. If he does, it's over. He's going to help split the vote because Mayor Eric Adams is going to run as an independent, is running as an independent. He's probably like, ooh, best outcome, crazy person, has a ticket in the Democrat Party. If the Democrat Party had some integrity and wanted to avoid this hyper crazy route that they're going down, they would have immediately got together and been like, okay, we're going to support Eric Adams. Like, I know he's not running on the Democrat ticket, but he's the better choice for New York. He's a better choice for business. He has obviously the most experience. And he is respectful of all the neighbors there, and go down that route. But once the results came in, you had the governor and the AG and other folks who were congratulating, and even Cuomo's concession speech was like, oh, well, he got the people out and etc. I would have been like, I know you're supposed to be gracious in times like that, and you can be like, I respect the voters have a choice, but let me lay this down about what happened and what could happen for such and such reasons. I am endorsing Eric Adams, and I challenge other Democrats to do the same, or we're going to lose not only the greatest city in the world, potentially lose the greatest city in the world. We risk losing our party, and we risk taking the country in a direction we should not go. So, and it is a lot of the base who voted for him are affluent white women, college educated folks. So I think it's hard for an independent to win. It's not impossible. But if they have more people who decide to run as an independent, they're not going to win. Eric Adams isn't going to win. I don't want to see New York. Some people are like, this is what you deserve, New York. I don't want to see New York go down like that. I want them to do better. I want the whole country to do better. I want people to learn lessons, not just get worse. That's what I want. Maybe he's asking too much. I don't know. But it is very concerning. Emerson College had a poll that said Cuomo leads Mamdani among voters without 4-year college degrees, 61 to 39%, while Mamdani leads Cuomo among college educated, 62% to 38%. these colleges are indoctrination camps, man. They're indoctrination camps. There was other polling that like had minorities that were going for him too. I mean for Cuomo. So maybe they'll all turn out and vote in the general for Adams, and I hope they're able to do that, to pull it out. I saw this tweet though the other day. I retweeted it. In retrospect, Cuomo shouldn't have killed all those people. Man. He did make terrible choices during COVID. And he didn't earn it. But it's just crazy. Like, I saw some of the debate for the Democrats for the mayor race. There just wasn't good options. And there's so many people in the city. And I wonder, where is the sanity? Where is the sanity? I don't know. But I want the world to do better, be better. Anyway, moving on. Anthony Karmelo, who fatally stabbed Austin Metcalf at a track meet, has been indicted. That's just indicted. That doesn't mean they've had the trial and all that stuff. He's just been indicted. And they're going to charge him with murder in the first degree. He could face up to 99 years in prison. And his lawyers are going to still go the self-defense route. And I did tell you guys that the video came out. Well, not publicly. They revealed it to some press, and we went through some articles about it. I can't see anything in any article that really says it was clear, it was sharp, and this and that happened. They said there was movement during the attack and all these people that came and whatever. So I don't know if they can super enhance that stuff to try to figure it out during the trial. But according to, police reports and what different people said, Karmelo was in a tent. He didn't belong. Austin Metcalf told him to go, and he said, "Put your hands on me and see what happens," basically. And I guess he did. And Karmelo was already, I guess, reaching in his backpack when he had even said that anyway. And he stabbed him and ran off. And Austin died in the arms of his twin brother. The police ended up picking up Karmelo, and they're like, "We have the alleged suspect." And he said, "I'm not alleged. I did it." And he didn't, I think he asked about, like, would he be okay or something, and said, "Can I claim self-defense?" And, like, asked the cop about it. And just in life, like, this whole situation, none of it makes sense to me. I just can't even grasp how all this happened. To me, none of it makes sense with, like, typical sort of patterns for this stuff. It's just so needlessly violent, and just the escalation is ridiculous. There's just no reason for it. No reason for it. But it's stupid to do something like that and then talk to the cops like that. Just FYI, I guess. Just throwing that out there. But if people are going to testify that scenario that I just went through happened, there's just no way that he's not going to go to jail for first-degree murder. There's just no way. And if I were him, or if I were his parents, I would want to just, I don't know, make some kind of plea that could perhaps land him with obvious jail time, but with some of it with his life at the end, maybe just 30 years or 40 years. I don't know what the prosecution, what the state or the county would be willing to bargain You know, if they're holding all the cards, maybe they wouldn't want to make any kind of deal. But, you know, if you find the right kind of social justice activists to get on the bench, I mean, not the bench, but the jury, you know, I guess somebody could blow it, the thing, if they're not careful in that regard. So if you could make some kind of deal to not get 99 years, you might want to take it. I haven't liked the activists and the lawyers associated with the Karmelo family, and I've made commentary that to the parents that your son is going to go to jail. If there's any justice in this world, he's going to go to jail. Even him saying touch me and see what happens, that is provocative. It's not like he was just sitting there minding his business and people started roughing him up and he was scared for his life. I don't know why he had the knife there anyway, and then he stabbed Austin. That's not what happened. He was the instigator. If I was his parents, I would want to make a deal. And I'm not saying that I want him to get out early or anything like that, but if I was his parents, I guess I would just try to make the best out of the most terrible situation. Because you want to, I don't know. To me, it doesn't make sense. I'm baffled. Trying to look at some of your comments. It's just a terrible situation. And I'm still seeing videos online from activists. Like there's this one guy who has a big following on TikTok, and he's like, well, I guess all you white people got your way. And someone replied to him, is like, what, you mean justice? Because he murdered him. Like, take the racial stuff out of it. None of it made sense. So I'm curious to hear why he did what he did. But if they're going to go the I acted in self-defense route, I'm sure we'll just kind of hear a lie. We'll probably never hear what was in his mind and why he did what he did in the moment. Because there's no rational explanation for what happened. So anyway, terrible situation to go through. Pray for the Metcalf family. I do feel bad for Karmelo's parents, because what a terrible thing to know that your child did. But gosh, I don't know what they're telling him, what the lawyers or their son is telling them, but like all the evidence points to your son murdered that boy. That other young man took his life. And I just couldn't stand by my child lying like there's no justification. I don't care how much you love your kid. You can stand by them as they confess and try to get them the best deal. But standing by them and be like, oh, he acted in self-defense, that's insane. That's insane. I can't imagine it. I can't imagine it. Just do the right thing. Do the right thing. Anyway, I want to talk about this Candace Owens situation. So Candace Owens decided to post a bounty. So what I mean by she decided to post a bounty is that she has heard that people are talking smack about her and claiming that she's paid by Qatar and so on. So she wants to offer $10,000 for evidence of influencers getting paid to talk about her.
That somebody reached out to me, someone that I trust very much, and said, Candace, just want you to know, we're on opposite
Sorry, that's so loud. Let me turn that down.
sides of this thing, but there's money behind this pro-Israel movement. Billionaires and Israeli billionaires reached out, asked so-and-so to make a video that is pro-Israel. And then an influencer reached out and said that people are being offered money to make anti-Candace and anti-Tucker videos, up to $1,000 for a micro influencer. That's a lot of money. This person has got to have a lot of money, whoever's behind this. And so today we did something because we're so interested, is we put a bounty out, $10,000 for an influencer that got paid, a micro influencer. Don't care if you're micro. You email tips@CandaceOwens.com and show us the concrete email of who paid you to make a video about me and Tucker and to say that we must be funded by Qatar, because that's the disinformation campaign that's happening right now. And we'll give you 10K, no questions asked. I don't care if you already made the video. We will not ever reveal your name. You can go on and live your life. Okay. Promise that. That somebody reached out.
Okay. There's a movie, We Are the Millers or something. I don't even know the premise of the film. I've never seen the film. I've only seen one scene. And there's like a guy and he's hired people to be his family for some reason. And at some point in the film, they're arguing. And Jennifer Aniston is like, I think the mother figure. And she's like, you got paid $250,000. And she's yelling at the father figure guy. And she's like, and I'm only getting like 50K. And the girl, I think Emma Roberts, like the daughter type figure, was like, you're getting paid 50,000. I'm only getting paid 1,000. And then there's this guy, this kid, he played, I think Adam Warlock on Guardians of the Galaxy. He was in Maze Runner way back in the day. He has very much glowed up since then, but he was younger at the time when he did this, and he's like, you guys are getting paid? And so when I saw this video, immediately that's what came to my mind, that you guys are getting paid? Now, I don't know if it's true that anyone's getting paid to rag on Candace Owens, but I can tell you that nobody needs to do it. I don't doubt that there's probably, that maybe someone out there would do it. I just want to put that out there. It's not impossible. There are people who want to pay influencers to do stuff all the time. I'm aware of different, during the campaign season, of different millionaires who wanted the Trump campaign to pay influencers to do different stuff, and that they were willing to give money to the RNC to arrange different things like that. But Trump's not really into that. Because one, there's so many people who are willing to just do that stuff, and he's pretty frugal anyway. And also, there's always the fact that someone could turn around and expose that they were paid to say that stuff anyway. So I know there have been people who claim that they got offers to do different stuff. That doesn't mean that it came from Trump himself or the Trump campaign. But there are people out there who are willing to, who have offered that kind of stuff. So I don't think it's probably so far-fetched that there are different organizations, or maybe just a billionaire or somebody rich, who'd want to take it in their own hands and offer to some people to say some stuff about Candace Owens and Tucker Carlson, because they believe that it is true and they want people to know about this stuff. There has been suspicion that there have been articles that there have been different right-wing people who have been paid by Qatar and stuff. I don't know. People said that there was some kind of evidence about Tucker and so on. I didn't see that, and I think some people misinterpreted some stuff. So I don't know if there's a smoking gun or any kind of evidence like that or whatever. But I think their behavior has been very strange for a long while. Now, both these people don't need money from anybody unless they got some like crazy gambling debts I don't know about. So all this stuff is kind of puzzling to me because it just doesn't compute with my mind, because you couldn't pay me to say things that I didn't believe were true. I'll just sit there and, not have the money, not have the followers or whatever. I'm going to say what I'm going to say. Like when I started to criticize Trump quite a bit during the primaries season and stuff, when especially as he was saying some stuff that sounded really pro-choice, and people are like, well, what are you going to do when your audience is upset because you talk bad about Trump? I'm like, I can't just muzzle myself like that. I like they're going to either just respect that I have a disagreement with them and stay, or they're going to go. But I can't be held hostage by my audience. I can't do that. So that's not my way. But nobody has to be paid to say bad things about Candace Owens. Her going so hard against Israel, especially when there's so many evangelicals who have loved her and watched her stuff, probably sporadically. Like there's probably some clips. A lot of people don't watch folks religiously every day. I've got people who watch me every day. Obviously not like a ton of people watch me every day, but there's people who watch me every day. There's a lot of people who watch her every day, but there's people who know of Candace Owens and seen some of her stuff. She has clips that go viral, like the life's hard, get a helmet, that kind of stuff, or some of her BLM stuff, or whatever. And or her talking to Don Lemon, telling him that to sin to be gay, or what. There's people who see things like that online. They're viral and like, oh, I like Candace, she says this, she says that, she says this right thing, but they don't follow her down her rabbit hole, so they don't know how far and dark they've gone. So I've been trying to sound the alarm for a minute, because I think people ought to know and just kind of dump her. And sometimes people say, stop talking about her because that's what she wants. She wants attention. And I'm like, I think that's true. I think she does really want attention, but she's still going to get it. And I want people to know some of the other things that maybe they're not seeing, that I see on X, or that I actually go and I have seen her show to make sure I had things in the proper context as I criticize her or whatever. So her talking so badly about Israel as of late, comparing Bibi Netanyahu to Adolf Hitler, and go and talking about how Israel's demonic and all kinds of different stuff. They're like, how dare you? So there's a lot of evangelicals who've just been on her as of late. And there's one account that I've seen address the rumors, because people have been in their comments saying like, oh, did you get paid? Did you get the full 1,000? And so he's like, oh, people are telling me that she's offering $10,000 to reveal themselves. And he's like, I don't need money to talk bad about Candace Owens. And I did a video yesterday just saying like, I'm glad people are catching up, because people are like, oh my gosh, what happened to her? I'm like, she's been off. She's been off. And some people in the comments were like, yeah, you were right, and I defended her and I was wrong, etc., etc., etc. But there were some people in my comments who were saying things like, oh, did you get paid? How much did you get paid? Did you get the full 1,000? I'm like, what are you even talking about? So it was popping up so much. I was like, did she offer money? Is that a rumor that she started? So I had to look it up. So that's how I found the video. Look, even beyond the Israel stuff, there have been things that I haven't liked about Candace. I always thought that she was too prickly and controversial for the Daily Wire. I was surprised when they picked her up. Like, I knew she was a hot figure on the right, and maybe they thought she was a good catch. But I thought she was too risque for their brand, and I was surprised. Now, I always kind of took issue with the way that she, I guess, presented herself. like even when she did the I don't support George Floyd stuff, I did a video critiquing that live stream she did. I probably wasn't on YouTube. I think it was on Facebook some time ago, but or somewhere else. I don't know. Could have been, it probably wasn't Instagram. It was probably Facebook. I don't even know if it was Black Tea. It might have been my personal account. I don't know. I can't remember. But I didn't like her overall video. And it said something about it. But when Daily Wire picked her up, I did hear that there were different people that were like, you know what? I kind of hear some things that Candace says and I like it. And there were people who were like longtime Democrats that would argue all day long with me. And I'm like, but you listen to Candace Owens here or there? I'm like, I think she has a point. I'm like, well, I guess there's somebody for everybody, you know? So I guess I just kind of accepted her a little bit because she, I guess maybe could reach people that I couldn't reach in a way that I wouldn't reach them. But there were other things that bothered me. Like I talked about how she came after Kim Kardashian and she hates Kim Kardashian's guts. It seems like, I guess, because maybe she divorced Kanye and Kanye was her buddy. And other things. I mean, there's reasons not to like Kim K, obviously. But she got so mad at Kim Kardashian, or maybe mad's not the wrong word. She did a video critiquing an ad that she had because she came out with some inclusive like underwear garments that were also made in mind for disabled people. And she thought that was just pandering so hard. And she's like, not everything is about you. And, you know, you don't have to pander like this. And so many people were upset, including Christina Applegate. And this I did critique at the time. And so I haven't looked at that video in a while, but I did make a video at the time. And I thought her overall points didn't make sense on top of it being extraordinarily insensitive. But the overall point seemed to be like you shouldn't pander to different groups. And I'm like, Republicans pander to groups all the time. Everybody does it, left and the right. And I have a shirt in my room that says Black Voices for Trump. Like that was Trump's thing in 2020, you know. And there's like the Black Republicans groups and the Black Latino group. I mean, not the Black Latino groups, the Latino GOP Latinos. And, you know, we do it all the time. The left does it. The right does it. I'm like, she has Blexit, you know, she came to Turning Point USA because she had a vision for specifically the Black Democrats and leading the Blexit stuff. So it's not like folks don't have this kind of stuff in mind. I've gone to a GOP office, my local GOP office, and I hadn't been there in a while. And I walked in the room and people were like, oh, and it was somebody who I guess was newer and didn't recognize me. And they were just so excited. I guess that a Black person walked in the room and was like, your friends are over here. And I'm like, you don't know me. How you know they're my friends? They were my friends, but a lot of people in the room were my friends. But those friends were Black. Right? And you could run a campaign and not say anything about you being Black. They've noticed and they're like excited, like, oh gosh, we got this Black Republican, you know. It's just the way people are, and you cannot like it, but it is what it is. It is what it is. So it seems such a weird take from Candace. I might have to go back and look at that video, but people responded loudly about her video on that. I didn't like her BLM video. There were some parts of it that were good. A lot of most everything in the video I already knew because I already followed accounts that looked into the BLM spending, and I reported on stuff like that too. So there was nothing basically new in the documentary for me. But there was a part where she was trying to get an interview with Derek Chauvin, and she was so irritated because they wouldn't do it. And she acted like she was going to do them a favor, and they were dumb for missing out on it, and because she could tell their story. And I'm like, you are just some girl from a conservative news organization. You do not have like enormous far reach across all swaths of the aisle that if you did an interview, people be like, oh my gosh, look at that. He's innocent. You are as partisan as it can get to probably someone like him. And you are the person who went viral for saying that you don't care about George Floyd. Why would Derek want to interview with Candace Owens? Why be mad at that? It was really childish to me, her rage about it. Very, very irritating part of the film. Of course, there's a bit thinking that the prime minister's wife of France is a man, going down that rabbit hole. The Kanye saga, the bizarre defense of him, the Tate brothers, the interview that the softball interviews that she had with Andrew, her coming after different victims, her offering to debate people over the Andrew Tate case. An apostate prophet was like, I'll do it. I'll debate you about the case. And she never took him up on that offer. Of course, the October 7th stuff. I did a saga about Daily Wire stuff and the things that she was saying around that time and why she got let go, Crisis King stuff, which she mischaracterized, and then she had Norman Finkelstein on, who said that basically he was happy that October 7th happened and it made him, happy. It like warmed his heart to see that stuff. So there's a lot of things to criticize, and I understand that, again, people like some of the things that she said here or there, but she will spread blood libels. She will look at different comments that people will put different conspiracy theories in her comments or whatever, and she'll go look it up, go down neo-Nazi conspiracy rabbit holes, and then just spread them online. I shared something, I think the other day, about Candace on Facebook, and someone, said, well, listed a bunch of conspiracy stuff, things that she's repeated, including do you know what kinds of books the Nazis were burning? It was pornography. And I'm like, why did you specifically mention that they were burning pornography? Don't you know that they burned other books, like The Time Machine by H.G. Wells, All is Quiet on the Western Front, and other books as well? Like they burned Einstein's writings, because and then he was like, I don't care about Einstein because he said there was a cross-dresser who married his cousin or something. And I'm like, okay, what about the stuff I mentioned? But I wasn't surprised to hear that, because they're parroting the things that she's saying. So I think it's worth addressing, and I'm glad other people are addressing it and exposing her. Sorry, I'm going through the comments real quick. Someone's I haven't heard her condemn Israel so much as a government. No, she's definitely condemned Israel and has said some she has spread conspiracies, and it's the Jews that are behind many things, like killing Kennedy and Michael Jackson, and that um Trump is being controlled by Israel and everybody's being controlled by Israel. But it's all about like the Jews run the world. The Jews have so much power. The Jew like she spread conspiracies about Stalin having Jewish wives and other things that aren't true. So all these conspiracies keep coming back down to the Jews are behind it, and it goes beyond Bibi Netanyahu or the war in Israel. And the most extensive takedown of the things that Candace was saying, if you want to take the time to read it, Dennis Prager actually wrote a letter to Candace Owens, because she used to work for PragerU, and he took some time and didn't want to address a lot of the things that people were saying at first, because he wanted to make sure that he like tracked down the things that she said so he could say them in context, and let her know that like I'm going to make this public too. But he gave that her time first to like respond to it or whatever. I don't think she ever responded to Dennis Prager's letter, interestingly enough, but he just went through all of her like conspiracies and debunked them. AG Hamilton has I follow him on X. He's been chronicling the crazy things that she's been saying and has addressed and debunked a lot of them too. There's like the deep really Jewish lore conspiracy theories. A lot of people might not know how to debunk them, because I mean I just haven't had a reason to go down some of those rabbit holes. So I've had to research and read to they didn't sound right to me from the get-go, but you know, I had to look different stuff up. But there's people who are more acquainted with these old neo-Nazi conspiracy theories that she's pushing. But if you just trust her because she said, hey, life's tough, wear a helmet, and you've liked some of her other content for a while, and she's saying all this other stuff, and she's like, you got to look deeper. You got to look deeper. Like someone the other day told me, like, you're so close to awakening. I'm like, I rebuke you in the name of Jesus. What are you talking about? Awakening to what? like I don't want whatever you got. Like, what do you mean? Like, you're putting all these crazy conspiracies. I'm not close to waking up. What do you mean? It sounded really cultish, to be frank. So gosh, there's been so much. She's been honest about the Crisis King stuff, the liking the tweet about the drinking Christian blood. It's just been a wild past 2 years, and now people have seen her tell troops that they should just drop out of get dishonorably discharged so they don't have to fight a war in Israel, or not fight a war in Israel, to fight Israel's war, is what she said. And she doubled down because she went on Piers Morgan's show, and she said, I would tell my sons it's better to go to jail. Just go to jail. Just go to jail. It's better than to die for Israel's war. And obviously it doesn't look like we're going to go boots on the ground in Iran. And she's never, geopolitics isn't like my strong suit, you know. That doesn't mean I don't know anything, but there's definitely people who know a lot more than I do, but it's certainly not hers either. But she's been very wrong about a lot of things as of late, and so has Tucker. And I just, is it wrong because they just are so bad at reading the tea leaves, or is it because they're just stuck in such a bubble of their own hallucinations? Or are those the things that I don't know, are they all kind of following the same script? I don't know. Someone mentioned Rabbi Shmuley and her beef with him. I think I've mentioned this before, but I think her beef goes back further than that. In the video I did about the Ben Shapiro, like the Candace Ben saga, that I did like after October the 7th, I go back to the Kanye stuff and even before then, because there was an attempt to cancel her before when she was still with Turning Point USA, because she said that she was for nationalism, and she tried to define say that Hitler wasn't a nationalist because he said if he had dreams outside of Germany, and that's when things really became a problem, because he wanted to subjugate the world or whatever, and she thought that meant he was a globalist. And she still rejects that Hitler was a nationalist. Now she rejects that because she doesn't really know the definition of a nationalist, a globalist, which I talk about that in that video too. But to a lot of people that didn't sound good, and people were saying that she was an anti-Semite, and people were trying to cancel her. And when she went before Congress, someone quoted her, Ted Lieu, and so it was a tough time for her. And I think Dennis stood up for her. Or maybe he I think he maybe did at the time. I'm not sure. Trying to remember her different videos. But anyway, it was a rough time for her. And I just don't think she's forgotten it. I don't think she's forgotten it. And she saw different stuff with Kanye. And Kanye was in the wrong, but she like bent over backwards doing Matrix style dodging to try to stick up for Kanye when he went on some of his rants, which I covered, and so on. So I think it's just kind of a build. And she, when she got canned from Daily Wire, I don't know how much, I don't know how long she wanted to stay there anyway or whatever, but I think some of it is out of spite, but some of it she might be something wrong. Like, I think originally it seemed that the way that she would handle her critics and their objections was very strategic. Like how she tried to push back on Andrew Klavan and some of his criticism about like her coverage of the Nazi book burnings and things, which I covered this topic in the video of how Candace Owens deceives her audience. How she'll set up the straw mans and exaggerate stuff and leave certain things out and plant certain details in with her clapbacks. Like she made sure to mention that Andrew Klavan's son she didn't mention, like, by the way, he's gay, but she's like, oh, but his son's husband is like the head fact checker or something, like made sure to put things like that out, to do little digs. Or when she was talking to Tucker Carlson about Ben Shapiro, she's like, I don't know, Ben's, we've had some disagreements. Like he was the one who was pro the lockdowns and pro this and pro that, and made sure to set up all these things. Like Ben's been very wrong in the past, so I'm obviously right now. I think she's very smart in how she would do different manipulations. And I guess that doesn't mean she's not crazy. Narcissist, and it doesn't mean she. Some people think she's manic and bipolar. I don't know. She can still be unwell and just very like high functioning and manipulative and stuff. But when she was on Piers the other day, she's so defensive about the war questions. I don't know. I think she's getting worse. I don't know if I have that video up. Let me see if I have it saved. Yeah, I got it here. if you haven't seen this.
Under the Uniform Code of Military Justice, Article 90, dishonorable discharge can result in forfeiture of all pay and allowances up to 5 years confinement, which is a pretty heavy penalty to pay.
Yeah, I'd want my kids to go to jail before they fought for Israel. I'll say that honestly.
Okay,
I would. I have 3 sons, and I'm going to be honest with you, Pierce. I'm glad you told me that consequence. I'd take that consequence any day to them being sent back over in a coffin because they died for Israel. So.
Okay, but I think the one thing you're missing. Look, I come from a big military family. A lot of military in my family, and a lot of people fighting wars on behalf of the United States are not doing it because they think Bibi Netanyahu wants them to. They're doing it because
some of them do that, and they write into my show and I answer the question.
But many of them won't, and they might be offended by you suggesting that's the only reason they're doing it.
And they can watch your show, and they can be offended all they want, but I think it's more offensive the way that our military is treated, the veterans are treated, and the gaslighting that takes place when we're told that we have to defend everybody's borders. But I
actually think America treats its veterans better than almost any country in the world.
I mean, this has always been an open conversation, and I'm just saying that if my boys were being drafted to fight this war in Iran, I would be like, you know what, honey, take the other option. And that's not because it's cowardice. It's because when you sign up for the military.
Okay, but I would say that the pilots,
you are pledging that you are doing something that is going to better your country.
But Candace,
and like I said, our country has been in steep decline since we haven't part of this foreign policy, which is just whatever Israel wants.
Okay, but you made that point, but what
Yeah, so I just thought that was like hyper defensive, and it's just not true. I mean, Trump was able to tell Israel, like, fly your planes home, turn them around. Even in the Biden administration, there were things that Israel didn't do. Everybody tap dances around the United States. Everybody. If we do project weakness, then they'll, Obama had his red line that people could cross. Biden will just say no in the microphone. If evil people think that you're not going to do nothing, then they'll go ahead and do something. But, Israel held back and didn't do things sometimes because the Biden admin, was saying and trying to, keep them from going in and doing whatever. And Bibi has a good relationship with Trump. And Israel has a good relationship with the United States. If I was Israel, I wouldn't want to know ceasefire. I mean, if they're done bombing them right now, they're done bombing them. But I'd be like, you know what? You had tweeted unconditional surrender, and that's what we want. That's what we want. If it was me, everybody tap dances to the United States, man. So she's been trying to undermine Trump for a while, and that might be out of spite too. Because some of the stuff that she has been saying for a while has made her toxic in those circles. Like, there was an event that she and Don Jr. were both supposed to be at. Guess who didn't end up going? She got disinvited. They know she's toxic. So some of this turning against Trump, it could just be spite, y'all. It could just be spite. I don't know how much she legitimately dislikes Jews and how much she's saying for clicks. To me, it doesn't make sense to do it all for clicks. I'm like, how far does that go? How long can that last? How long can that shtick last? Long term. It doesn't make sense to me. But I don't know if she's crazy. Why does it need to make sense? I don't know. Guys, I can't nail it down. I can give reasons, list them, but I don't know what it's like going on in her head. I don't know, but if there is something like screwy, like I don't know. It some people think that she's bipolar. I do know that people can go down some deep conspiracies and be very paranoid about certain things. But I'm just not sure. I'm not sure. But if I haven't been paid to say Pete, but I mean if someone wants to send me a tip, that's fine. Go to the website, leave a donation or whatever, but nobody needs to be paid to say stuff. Now, again, I'm not saying that nobody hasn't been paid to say anything, especially if someone has a lot of skills to edit stuff and can really put things together. It took a lot of time to construct the videos that I made about her. You know, that took a lot of time. And I haven't done another one in a while just because it does take so much time, but I don't know, maybe we're due for another one. I don't know. But no, people have been talking about her for free. You really hated how she talked about Jordan Peterson. She really talked about, did she talk about him before he came out and said the stuff about Christ is King and did that study? I can't remember if that was if she said if they had beef prior to that, but I know she was really upset about that. We did cover that and that study and about people saying Christ is King online being attributed mostly when people were addressing Jews or when it's used in some kind of anti-Semitic fashion, and people got really mad about people pointing that out. But people should be angry that people are co-opting the phrase Christ is King and using it to be anti-Semitic. And Candace Owens is aware that that is the case, you know, that people use it in that way because she listened to Nick Fuentes say so. She listened to that. And Nick Fuentes said himself that when people hear Christ is King, I assume that people know that that's Groypers, like his guys who are saying it. She's aware of that. Now, a lot of people say Jesus is Lord. He's King of Kings, Lord of Lords. I guess I haven't usually heard people chant Christ is King. And then she'll say that she never tweeted it at a Jew, but she totally tweeted it in a thread addressing Ben Shapiro. So she's just really been dishonest about that stuff. Someone said jealous, envious, vindictive. I heard someone say that she might have wanted to be appointed to press secretary. I hope she didn't want to be appointed to press secretary. I don't think I ever said that she wanted to. I've heard people say that they wanted her to, and I heard people say that they wanted her to run for office. I hope people are like rethinking that. I don't know if she want realistically any kind of appointment or whatever, but the fact that it's, you know, they can't really be in the same circles or whatever. Because money is one thing, and she definitely has money, but access is another. And people might be mad about that getting cut off. So another person who has some good videos about Candace Owens is What Do You Meme? They're a Christian commentator. They covered her interview with like Andrew Tate and some other stuff. So I recommend watching that video that they put out, because she did some really dishonest stuff regarding Andrew Tate. That's another thing I don't understand, like why so many people on the right wanted to just lie or cover for that man. I don't get that. Even well, the different accusations are bad enough. What's actually on video and things that he said and done are horrific. So I don't understand. I don't understand. And that bit Helena Hababa, you know, Trump's lawyer, in the butt when she's like, "Oh, I'm a huge fan," and then she had to walk that back. So but Candace is one of their fans, but that's because her husband was good friends with them. So I don't know what kind of arrangements they have. I don't. Maybe one day it'll all be revealed and we won't just be speculating. But anyway, that's all I got. That's all I got. Please, if you enjoy my content, please go to blacktnews.com. Check out different content on my website, articles, videos, etc. If you like what I do, please consider leaving a donation on the website because it does cost a stream, run this site, all that good stuff. So you guys can support it. I should appreciate you guys. You guys can check out different merch that's available on the site as well. Like different mugs, like this cute "You Are Not That Special" mug. We also got the black tea mug and different t-shirts. You guys can also check out my different books that I have. I have 18 altogether that are published. And there's a link in the description. I'll take you to an Amazon page. If you're watching on Facebook or YouTube, that'll take you to where you can see my different books. God bless you guys, and I'll see you tomorrow.